And they've been leveraging this gold at about 100 to 1. So basically what's happening now is there's essentially a run on the old gold bonds fractional reserve banking system, and they were quoted, he quoted them as saying that they were going after the Anglo bankers until they were dead and denutted, unquote. And he's expecting it to come fully to fruition within 6 to 12 months. So basically they're coming after it's so intertwined into the financial system, this may be the trigger that's going to finally drop the economic system out from everybody's feet.
Well, it's good. We're definitely in for some very interesting times over the next several months. It sounds a lot like the story about the Chinese triad had finally become aware that these New World Order people, through their control over the U.S. military and intelligence, and I do know they've been working on this since at least the time of Vietnam, trying to develop race-specific viruses and pandemics. And when they became aware of that and they realized that they might be able to come up with something that, say, would only attack Orientals, they just said, okay, that's enough. And so they reportedly sent out the warning that, if they didn't cease and desist and start divesting themselves of this international banking control and intelligence control, that they were going to send out these ninjas and just kill them all. Sounds very similar to what you're saying.
Yeah, it sure does. Well, we're out of time. Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show. Man, what an hour. I'll tell you what, I think I agree with Griff. We could talk 4 hours. And
a lot of things to say. Well, hey, just remember my motto, okay? When somebody calls you a conspiracy theorist, be sure and remind them that if you can prove it, it's not a theory. That's right.
And folks, Jim Marr's book is The $1 Trillion Conspiracy. That's his latest book. You can buy it. That's available anywhere. Where's that available, Jim? Where can people buy your book?
Any bookstore, Amazon.com, or off my website, jimmars.com. That's Mars with 2 R's.
Very good. Folks, our next hour is Margo Lane, an attorney from Kansas. We'll be right back after these messages.
Most Americans know the significance of July 4th, 1776. However, few know the importance of September 17th, 1787, the day the Constitution was written and adopted by our founders. Unfortunately, over 200 years later, this sacred document is under attack, along with our beloved republic. Throughout the span of history, brave men and women have rallied behind banners, which have served as symbols of liberty against the forces of tyranny. Today, we have the Constitution Pride Flag to show our support for the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, freedom, liberty, and justice for we the people of the United States. Now available at www.1787flags.com. Get your very own Constitution Pride Flag today and receive a free pocket Constitution with your order. www.1787flags.com. The official website of the Constitution Pride Flag. That's www.1787flags.com.
This is Shepard with the Intel Hub. Don't forget to check out my show weekdays at 3 p.m. Central on American Freedom Radio.
Did you ever wish that you could have done something while you still had the chance? What will you do if your income ends tomorrow? Or if you lose your home, as many already have? Do you have enough money to survive through an economic depression? If you don't want to gamble with your future, then FreeToProsper.com can help you quickly end your debt problems, protect your property and possessions, and develop a personal strategy to get you through the hard times. Most importantly, you get to keep your money and not pay another cent to creditors. Our program is often superior to bankruptcy, consolidation, or settlement. Visit FreeToProsper.com to find out more. This is your real chance to act ahead, so don't delay. Your future may depend on it. Call 718-615-0123 to learn more. That's 718-615-0123. Or visit FreeToProsper.com today.
Join me, Joe Joseph, and my co-hosts John King and AC Griffith, Thursdays and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Freedomlink Radio's Bridging the Gap on the Intel Hub Radio Network. Wow, I'll tell you what, folks, when you really think about things, you get a host like Jim Mars on, or a guest like Jim Mars on, it really puts things in perspective. And, you know, it was good, Griff, that he actually validated the whole Freemason thing, because now I don't think you have horns coming out of your head.
Thank you. I'm happy too.
You know, I really got to say this, guys. You know, when I first woke up and I started listening to these guys like Jim Mars and A.C. Griffith and John Moore, and they helped wake me up and point me in the right direction, I just feel honored and blessed to be able to share a roundtable and chat with these guys and share thoughts and feelings and put the information and help put the information out to the people.
That's
absolutely
right.
Fantastic.
You know, our next guest here is a lawyer. And folks, before you get all crazy, no, she's one of the good people out there, and I'm going to bring her on now. Margo, you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. You're not on a Radio Shack phone, are you? Because that audio quality is spectacular.
Actually, it's a BlackBerry.
Wow, Griff, do you hear that? Maybe we got to go high tech.
What's the BlackBerry?
I don't think she's going to be making jam later.
Well, it's good to have you on the show, Margo. Can you give us and the audience a little background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. I do a lot of criminal defense work. I teach a constitutional law class for citizens here in Kansas. And I'm also the campaign manager for a representative she's not a representative yet, I'm hoping. She's running for U.S. House here in Kansas. So we actually just had our first debate, I think on Friday, and she was arguing against both the Republican and the Democrat. And after the debate, we had to try to get the media to interview her, and I tell you what, they just did not want to interview her. I got a lot of print media to interview her and some radio, but TV wouldn't come anywhere near her. So
no, you're right. We've actually run into that before. One of our guests on the show a while back was Michael Bednarik, and I'm sure if you're not familiar with him, he was the 2004 Libertarian presidential candidate. And he had forced himself in to the presidential debate and was actually kicked out. He actually couldn't go into the presidential debate because he was a third-party candidate. They don't want that. I know locally here in North Carolina and in Southern Virginia, there are some third-party candidates that have taken, let's just say they're more popular than the establishment wants them to be. So in that respect, they're being shunned like crazy, and the only way that the Republican or Democratic candidates will debate is if there is a guarantee that the third-party candidate is not there. And
yeah, well, I've heard that, and you know they've actually been really good this time around. They've included her in just about every single debate and I guess kind of convention or whatever kind of meeting they decide to have, luncheons, all that kind of stuff. So they've been really good at including her. However, the media is a little hard to get a handle on, and I had some fun on Friday afternoon calling station managers and complaining. So, but
Griff, are you surprised at all by the pushback that these third-party candidates are taking? And then, you know, I know that you're one, and I also kind of feel the same thing, that in the end, come November, we are going to see more of the same kind of pop up, because there is historical precedence to it. I mean, if there was any advice you could give her, what would you say? What would you say to her, Griff?
Well, isn't that a tough question?
It is a tough question. That's why I threw it at you. Ha ha!
You got me. Well, I've got 70 years of experience. 70 years of experience. You can't buy it. You have to live it, and you learn things, or rather, you're given the opportunity to learn things. Many people learn, many people don't learn, and maybe you have to go through it again. I still believe that we're in a special time with fascists in power, and they don't give a damn. They don't care. The only thing they care about is accomplishing their mission. They don't care what's going to happen 10 years from now in their personal political careers, and that's what you're up against. You're up against criminals that have taken over the government, and I don't think you're going to win it through normal debate and normal votes and courts, and you're just not going to win it. I think it's going to take something much more than that. It'll take a tragedy, a collapse, militias. It'll take something like that to break the hold that the fascist Obama administration has over this country. You can look around and see him taking the country down piece by piece by piece. Look at what's happening in the Gulf of Mexico. That's deliberate. You've got 30, 40 million people going to suffer and or die, and they're letting it happen. How do you view that? How can you defend it? How can you justify that action by the government and BP acting in collusion, in concert one with another? The reality is we're facing a bunch of criminals that are trying to take over the country.
You know what, Griff? And I'm going to pose this to you, Margo, because I find a very interesting parallel here. But the income tax, there's no law on the book, and this has been proven time and time again by people both from the Internal Revenue Service and outside the Internal Revenue Service. It says that through all their research and all their digging, they cannot find a law that says you are required to pay income tax. As a matter of fact, there are Supreme Court rulings from 1919 and the early 1920s that struck down the income tax as being unconstitutional. Yet, Americans still pay income tax. Because it's kind of like what happens when you take a loan out from the mob, or even the mob comes knocking on your door for the quote-unquote security payment to make sure that you stay safe and everything is safe and secure. If you don't pay them, your legs get broken or something bad befalls you. And I think that we're seeing this same mentality played out here today on a national scale, where we're actually starting to see some new people emerge and new people rise up and try to make a stand. But in the end, I think what we come to find out, and I hope this isn't true for November, and I pray that it's not true for November, but it harkens back some memories. I think it was around 2000. A gentleman did some testimony before the Florida Supreme Court, and he was a programmer for Diebold, and he spoke in vivid detail about the software that he wrote to throw the election for anybody that needed it to be thrown for. And in this case, it was George Bush in Ohio. In 2000, they threw the election for him. And he testified before the Florida Supreme Court that was the case. You know, so all I can say is, wow, what an uphill battle, and you certainly are displaying some courage and some fortitude in actually going about and trying to push this candidate through. And anything that we can do at the Intel Hub for you and your candidate, we'd be happy to do it for you.
Well, I would really appreciate that. Her name is Jasmine Talbert. She's actually a geophysicist. And when addressing AC's comment about how there's probably nothing that can be done, I agree completely. However, I think I just have a kind of mentality of a captain that would kind of go down with the ship, to the point where, you know, I just feel like I have to stand up